We're not looking for an increase in fiscal tightening. Basically, that's largely over in terms of the Eurozone. Most of their fiscal tightening has been achieved. There's a bit more to come in the US, but certainly there'll be less next year than there is this year. So from that point of view, fiscal policy will be less of a drag in 2014, and we expect world GDP growth to increase from around about 3% this year to closer to 4% next year. So from the point of view of fiscal monetary mix, monetary policy also will stay quite accommodative. Tapering is not tightening, it is just easing less aggressively. So from the point of view of policy, it's going to be less of a drag going forward than it has been over the past 2 years. Well, the debt has reached very high levels, and I think we did seem to reach the limits of fiscal policy because of those high levels of debt, and governments have had to refrain from introducing further large stimulus packages. I think that's well understood, but hopefully we're coming to the point soon where economies will be able to generate some growth internally. The private sector, the non-financial sector, has strong balance sheets. There's a lot of cash at hand. They just need to have a bit more confidence that their markets are expanding. We expect fixed investment to improve in the US. Things will be a bit more gradual in Europe. Japan, the Japanese economy, seems to respond in very well to Abenomics. So we think that economies will be able to grow with less dependence on support from government policies. Well, I think there's no real strong reason for governments to be wanting to tighten policies to that extent, because there are still large output gaps. Demand is running below potential, and that's true of the US, it's true of the UK, it's true of the Eurozone. So unemployment is still high, there's plenty of spare capacity. So I don't see that monetary authorities have got a need to actually tighten aggressively, especially if you look at the consumer price data, where we're still in terms of low inflation era, and more the risk is probably more deflation than inflation. So I wouldn't expect to see strong tightening that would actually topple markets at this point. Well, clearly it's a dampener. I think it probably is restraining markets worldwide at the moment. Each week that there's government shutdown is held to reduce US GDP by just over 0.1%. So a prolonged shutdown would actually do some damage. That's not what we're expecting. I think it appears that the Republicans are pulling back a little bit from an all-out an all-out confrontation with the administration over the debt ceiling, because it appears from the polls that they are being held accountable a bit more than the Democrats Party for the failure to reach an agreement.